Spun to run. In the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, he defeated a loaded field that included multiple Grade 1 winners Omaha Beach and Improbable. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more. And he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, Breeders' Cup champion, Spun to run, new for 2021, standing at Gainesway.
Hey everybody, Jay Privman and Marty McGee back for more updates with our Derby Watch Top 20. And Marty, we had a lot of going on last week with 3-point scoring races on the road to the Derby, all worth 100 points to the winner. The most significant one being the Florida Derby, and it significantly impacted our current top 20 list. So let's talk about the most prominent new member of the Derby Watch and the other 3 who are new to the list.
Well, the most prominent would be a horse by a guy, trained by a guy named Todd. His name is Known Agenda, and he was the winner of the Florida Derby. And we now have him at 12-1. That would be the 6th choice behind Essential Quality, who, of course, we'll talk about him on another video running on Saturday in the Bluegrass, followed by Concert Tour, Hot Rod Charlie, Greatest Honor up from, I think I had him 7-2 last week, Jay. And we'll talk about his 3rd place finish in the Florida Derby. Medina Spirit, who runs as a favorite Saturday in the Santa Anita Derby out there with you. And then on down with risk taking, and then some 20s and 30s and 50s as usual. So we had 4 horses come in, 4 horses go out. The 4 that came in were Known Agenda, Soup and Sandwich. They're both in points wise, and Like the King and Sainthood, having run 1st and 2nd at the CDI owned Turfway Park. They're both apparently in. Like the King, definitely. Elliot Walden, the managing partner, the president of Windstar Farm with Sainthood, they haven't totally committed yet, but I would expect that they will, because they got a free pass into the Kentucky Derby. So those are the 4. They helped account for, Jay, the field, the mutual field, being only 5-1 in the final pool of the 5th and final pool of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager, which closed on Sunday. And normally the field is not that low, but with so many new shooters and the possibility of more new shooters coming in this week with the preps that we're going to run, apparently some bettors thought that the field might be a good play.
So the 1-2 finishers from both the Florida Derby and the Jeff Ruby are the 4 newcomers to our Derby Watch Top 20. Marty, let's start with the Florida Derby and take a look at that race and how it impacted our list. You mentioned Known Agenda winning it for Todd Pletcher. I hear this Todd guy might do okay. He's off to a decent enough start. Known Agenda added blinkers for his previous race, an allowance win. Didn't get a big fig that day, but this was certainly a continuation of improved form since blinkers were added. What did you think of his race?
You got a great ride from Irad Ortiz. I know that. It was really key after about a furlong into the race when Irad kind of snuck into a nice stalking position and worked a good trip out from there. So maybe they are magic blinkers. Maybe that Todd guy has done pretty good in his first 25 years of training. Therefore, he's a nominee to the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's going to get in or not. But yeah,
I like his chances.
Yeah, I like his. Yeah, 1 to 1,000,000 to get in. But yeah, I mean, Todd's got another live one for the Derby, going for a hat trick.
Soup and Sandwich, who finished 2nd. I thought he ran a good race, Marty. He put away the other horses who were battling on the lead with him early, Nova Rags and Collaborate, and he finished in front of all but the winner. You know, that said, he's only got 3 starts so far, and he's giving up a lot experience-wise, but I thought he ran a good race. What did you think of his performance?
He ran a good race. He put away the other speed. He didn't change leads down the stretch, though, Jay. I'm sure you noted that in your recap of the Florida Derby, but he has given away a whole lot, and there's got to be some question whether or not he can get the distance or not. But he'll be a price in the Derby. He is part of the field, as we mentioned. I imagine he'll be about 30 or 40-1 when they run the race.
Yeah, no, you're right. Soup and Sandwich took a long time to change leads. Just before the wire, he finally did swap over, but it took him an awfully long time to finally switch over. And I think that's just another part and parcel of being inexperienced, and maybe he was getting a little tired after putting away all those other horses that he was on the lead with, and that contributed to it. Marty, the horse who was the focal point of the race going in, and maybe even a little bit so coming out, is Greatest Honor. He was the favorite in the race. He was trying to sweep all the major point-scoring races, going 2 turns at Gulfstream this winter, having won the Holy Bull and the Fountain of Youth previously. I thought he just ran okay. He kind of got a start and stop trip along the inside, but he just didn't really finish the race off that well. I don't think he was suited by having a start and stop trip like he did, but I don't know if he's good enough to swoop the field, which is probably what he needs to do so he doesn't get stopped, because on Figs, he's just sort of no better than anybody else, if not maybe a little slower. What did you think of him right now?
Well, that might have been an indication that the crop in Florida this winter wasn't that good, Jay. Also, I thought there was really only one spot in the race over at about the 5 furlong pole where Jose Ortiz kind of had to start and stop on him. After that, he followed Known Agenda. He was only a couple lengths behind him over at the half-mile pole to the 3/8 pole, and then Known Agenda just ran away from him. So you and I have seen a lot of horses, though, who ran kind of like that through the years going into the Kentucky Derby in their final prep. Unbridled, Ferdinand. There was a litany of them in the 80s and 90s. It hasn't really happened that way in recent years. But Shug McGahee's his trainer. Maybe he'll tighten the screws down a little bit more. And this horse figures, 8 or 10 to 1 in the Derby. And if you're willing to forgive that race and think he'll take a major step forward, he might be your horse.
Yeah, you're certainly going to get a much better price on him now on Derby Day than you would have prior to that race. So that's one of the 3-point scoring races from last week. Marty, let's move on now and talk a little bit about the other 2 races. First off, the Jeff Ruby Stakes, as you mentioned, the top 2 finishers from that race, Like the King and the runner-up Sainthood, both come on to our Derby Watch top 20 after getting 140 points respectively. What did you think of this race?
I mean, Like the King, Jay, you can just look at his PPs and see that he's probably not a dirt horse. Nonetheless, I talked to Wesley Ward this morning. He's really excited about him. He's in the Derby, and you and I are not. So, yeah, he's pretty excited about him. But he's going to work a couple of times at Keeneland, come over here fairly late, maybe about a week out. And, but just on form, he looks like about a 57 to 1 shot to me. And then Sainthood just got up to be second. If he runs in the Derby and wins it, he will be one of the most unlikely winners ever because of how desperate it was for him just to get in the race by nailing Hockey Dad right on the wire for second. So, again, I think they'll take a free pass. He was just coming off a nose maiden victory at Fairgrounds, kind of desperate in that one too. So you would have to think he's up against it.
I thought he might have been best in the race, though. He had to wait at mid-stretch while he had to wait for another horse who was kind of zigging and zagging in upper stretch, that being Hard Ride Guy, who ended up finishing 4th. And then he came on and ran well. But like you said, another horse is very lightly raced. It's going to be a big price in the Derby. And it looks like we're going to be looking at other horses to be more significant players on Derby Day. But he's got a spot if he wants it with those 40 points for second. Marty, finally, the UAE Derby. The top 2 finishers are both now Triple Crown nominees. But at the moment, neither are intended for the Derby. And that's why we have, at this point, not put them on our Derby Watch top 20 list. Because more and more, as we get closer to the Derby, the list is driven by points. But if you're not going to use those points, we're not going to put you on the list. So if we find out that those horses change, if their connections change their mind and they intend to come, they've got a spot because they've got the points and they'd be in the race. But as of now, they're not in. Did either of the top 2 finishers in that race do anything to get your pulse racing?
I mean, not really. We've really not had anybody come from that race and do any good in the Derby. So that might be one of the reasons they are indicating they're not going to come.
And Godolphin, which won the race with Rebel Romance, they've got quite a few top prospects already with the likes of Essential Quality and Prevalence, both of whom are running this week, and even Proxy, who's gotten quite a bit overlooked since the Louisiana Derby in his last start. Speaking of the races that Prevalence and Essential Quality are in, Marty and I will be previewing that in another video that you can find right here at drf.com. But that is our recap of last week's results. For Marty McGee, I'm Jay Privman. Thanks for watching.